The NLRB union is raising the alarm not just about their existential funding issues, but also management efforts to end telework, as if furloughs and constant underfunding were not enough. Last Week in Southern Labor is a segment that we do every week, mostly, where we tell you what happened in the labor movement in the South. We pull the information from Jonah Furman's newsletter, Who Gets the Bird?, which compiles all this information for the entire United States. So if you want to see what's going on outside the South, then subscribe to that newsletter at whogetsthebird.substack.com. And with that, let's jump into new organizing for the week and a half preceding December the 4th. In new organizing, we've got 75 workers who make chemicals for Nurion in LaPorte, Texas, are organizing with the Steelworkers Union. 65 more baristas at 3 locations, all in the South this week. That's in Houston and Kingwood, Texas, and Ashburn, Virginia, are joining the Starbucks Workers United wave. 28 workers who work on F-16s for K and Associates in New Orleans are unionizing with IUE-CWA. And in NLRB union wins, we had 98 first student school bus workers in Amarillo, Texas, voting 61-9 to join the Teamsters Local 577. This is the same local that organized 17 drivers for Halcon Corporation in Amarillo and Dalhart, Texas, and Liberal, Kansas.
Nice.
Very nice. Got a lot of strikes and bargaining updates today in Edward Waters University in Jacksonville, Florida. They are moving to unrecognize their faculty's AAUP union, saying that they can do this because of religious freedom. Among many jaw-dropping details, an ILA longshoreman union leader who serves on the school's board says he supports workers having union rights only if their employers agree.
Oh, my.
Yeah. That calls for a censure from the ILA at the very least.
I'd be pushing for a recall if that was my officer.
Yeah. Fort Worth, Texas journalists at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram started an unfair labor practice strike this week. At King Daughters Medical Center in Ashland, Kentucky, management says they are nullifying the existing SEIU 1199 contract covering 500 workers as part of the University of Kentucky takeover of the hospital. 800 dock workers at the Port of Mobile, Alabama remain on strike with ILA Local 1410. 1,100 paper mill workers with Steelworkers Local 507 in Canton, North Carolina, have voted down their second contract offer in a row at Evergreen Packaging, raising the possibility of a strike. Speaking of paper mills, nearly 500 USW members remain locked out at West Rock in Cottonton, Alabama. The NLRB union is raising the alarm not just about their existential funding issues, but also management efforts to end telework, as if furloughs and constant underfunding were not enough to make staff want to quit. The telework fight at the EEOC, however, which led to FLRA charges, has been resolved per the AFGE Council 216. After authorizing a strike, Delta Airline Pilots Association pilots have a contract offer from the company that includes 34% raises. Members will have to vote on the deal, but the airlines seem to think it could move things at other tables where things have stalled, including at American, where the bargaining committee rejected a deal, at United, where members rejected a deal, and Southwest, where TWU Local 550 dispatchers just held a rally and SWAPA pilots protested on Wall Street. At United Airlines, 5 unions have formed a bargaining coalition, which is always promising, but in practice can mean many different things. Speaking of bargaining coalitions, workers at Disney in Kissimmee, Florida, rallied as their expired contract hit the 2-month mark. The coalition of 6 unions involved represents around 42,000 workers. A transit strike didn't happen this week, with ATU Local 1447 in Louisville, Kentucky, reaching an agreement with management after having authorized a strike. ATU Local 1493 in Roanoke, Virginia, held informational pickets for a new contract from First Transit, which operates the area's Valley Metro. Teachers in St. Johns County, Florida, have rejected a contract offer with a piddling $1,200 raise. Plant City, Florida firefighters with IAFF are at an impasse, seeking a 36% increase over 3 years. In politics and legislation, we all know that Joe Biden, with the help of the Democratic and Republican parties, imposed a contract on some 60,000 rail workers, those 4 unions which had rejected agreements, denying them paid sick days or any other meaningful improvement to a critical industry that is nearing operational collapse due to financialized profiteering and mass worker exodus, which is by design. It's important to understand that, 1, Biden could have acted otherwise, and 2, the unions could have acted otherwise. They chose an inside strategy that relied entirely on Joe Biden doing the right thing, and they refused to do anything, mobilize members, strike. 2 unions actually unilaterally moved strike deadlines without new tentative agreements, and several others moved them months down the line, losing all political leverage before the midterms. The unions also refused to work with progressives or others who might have made important allies when Biden twisted the knife. The political punchline here is that Joe Biden sided with capital when the chips were down, no matter how many union halls he uses for photo ops.
Amen.
The union punchline is that if labor relies exclusively on the Democratic Party inside track and won't use its people power or think creatively or politically, we are doomed.
Amen.
The Texas Supreme Court heard arguments in a case in which Houston firefighters, and presumably those across the state, collective bargaining rights are at stake. In internal union politics, there is an absolute earthquake underway at the UAW as reformers sweep into office in that union's first ever direct elections for top officers. UAW Members United, which is the slate backed by Reform Caucus, Unite All Workers for Democracy, challenged for 7 of the 14 spots on the International Executive Board and won 5 of them outright. The other 2, which is the Region 9 director covering Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Western New York, and the international president, which obviously covers the whole union, will go to runoffs beginning in January. Looking at the anti-incumbent margins, however, hovering around 60%, it's hard to imagine Ray Curry hangs on to his seat, which means that new leadership will be bargaining a Big 3 contract that expires in mid-September, which means negotiations are likely to be a lot more aggressive. So looking forward to seeing what that brings out.
UAW is such an important union. It's really it's exciting to see this kind of reform effort taking hold, and it's much needed, much overdue. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
Absolutely. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.